Have you ever noticed that some people drain your energy while other people elevate it? What if your next growth isn't about doing more, but it's about who's sitting in your front row? Welcome to the Cody Hofhine Show, the place for entrepreneurs who want more clarity, more alignment, and more meaning in their business and in their lives. I'm Cody Hofhine, and each week I bring you lessons from my own journey and conversations with people who face the same struggles, challenges you're dealing with right now. So together, guys, we'll explore the habits, the mindsets, and the directions that create real success at work and at home. So let's get right into it. Jim Rohn, you hear me quote this guy a lot. I love Jim Rohn. He's one of my favorites. I wish I could have met this guy, shook his hand, and been personally mentored by him. And he says this: you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I want you to think about this. And I found that to be true. I found that to be true in business. I found that to be true in marriage. I found that to be true in my faith, in my fitness, and in all areas of my life. And when I first started as an entrepreneur, I didn't realize just how much who I surrounded myself with would shape how I think, would shape really the outcome of my future, where I am today. Early on, I was surrounded by good people, hardworking, right? Honest people, but they weren't growing. So individuals that, again, looking back, they're still great people, amazing people, but they were kind of stuck in just staying the same. They weren't really taking chances on themselves. They weren't taking the risk. They really weren't growing. And over time, I started to notice I was thinking smaller, dreaming smaller, and believing smaller every time I continued to hang out with these same individuals. That's when I realized your environment, it really can't be neutral. It's either fueling your vision or it's fighting it. It's almost acting like an anchor, right? So let's get into some simple questions that you can start to really decipher if your friends really are the best fit, if they really should be sitting in the front rows of your life. So R is reflective. And if you are not driving and if you are in a place, I really think you should take out a journal, because it really will give you the framework you need to know so that you know you're hanging out with the best people. So R, RISE, right? We're going to be spelling out RISE, acronym. I love acronyms. R is reflective. And here's the question I want you to tie to the R, to the reflective. Do they think deeply? And I'm talking about the people in your life, okay? So here's what the question you're going to ask yourself. Do the people that you hang out with, do they think deeply, pause, and self-examine? Now, what do I mean by that? Do they ever take time to just slow down and ask, what is this teaching me? John Maxwell, me and Mark, my business partner, we were sitting at a lunch in Orlando with John Maxwell. And John Maxwell, he always has a way with words. And he was just talking about how so many quotes are just misquoted. They just share a portion of it. For one of them, he said in the Bible, he said, everyone says that money is the root of all evil. He says they're missing the whole quote. The power behind that quote is they got to read the full scripture. They just can't pick a piece, like a few of the words, and say that that's the full scripture. He says the full scripture is the love of money is the root of all evil. That changes it, right? It changes the perspective. He says another one is, a lot of people say experience is the mother of all learning. And he says that's just not true. It's just not the full sentence. If you don't have the full sentence, that just makes it sound like if you just have an experience, you're going to learn a ton of stuff. And he says that's not true, because every 80-year-old out there, theoretically speaking, has had more experiences than someone that's 40 years old. They've lived twice the time on earth. And so for that matter, man, they've got to be able to have more experiences, so they've learned a lot more. He says that's not true, because there's a lot of 80-year-olds, and this is John Maxwell talking to me and Mark, right? There's a lot of 80-year-olds I don't want to learn from, because they haven't done the full work of this quote. And he says it's not that experiences are the mother of all learning. He says it's the reflection on the experiences is the mother of all learning. So the people that take time to actually have the experience and then sit there and just deeply think about that experience. Pause, take time, self-examine. If it didn't work, how can we make it work better next time? If it did work, why did it work? And they're the ones that really take time to reflect. I can't tell you how many times a good friend or a mentor helped me see a blind spot simply because they were willing to ask great questions of me, get me to slow down, to pause, and really just start thinking about that experience. Reflective people, they don't just talk, they help you think. They help you grow through what you're going through, right? So R is reflective. I, inspiring. Here's the question I want you to ask about the people in your lives. Do they pull greatness out of you? Think about that. The individuals you're hanging out with today, are they truly pulling greatness out of you? Do they leave conversations with them wanting, like, do you leave conversations with them wanting to be better? Do they pull greatness out of you? Every time you hang out with those individuals, are you leaving there saying, gosh, I want to be better. I want to be a better person because I just hang out with so-and-so. The people in my front row, they inspire me, guys. And it hasn't always been that case, right? There was a lot of people in my life growing up that were in my front row that weren't inspiring me. They weren't making me leave every conversation saying, gosh, I just want to be better. I could talk about high school years, how I had friends that I didn't. And then when I changed my friends, it changed everything. I started having more desire to be a better individual, right? Not by what they say, but how they live. That's what's really crucial. These people that inspire you, it's not anything that they're saying, but as you just silently watch them live their lives, they're inspiring you, right? They show up with integrity. They chase excellence. They remind me that purpose is worth the price. Every one of these individuals I hang out with, they have a purpose. They're not just going through life. They're not just trying to make an income. Everything is very intentional and they have a purpose behind everything they do. When you're around inspiring people, you can't help but just simply rise higher and rise together. But if they don't rise, they can't help you rise. All right, number S. This is supportive. Write that down. And here's the question I want you to write with it. Do they root for your success even when it doesn't directly benefit them? And I want you to think through that. Do you have friends that when you win, they kind of like, oh yeah, wouldn't it be great if it was like, if I was like you? And they're more just like not even cheering you on. They almost feel like it's less for them if you have more. Or do your friends cheer you on when you're winning? Do they sit there and say, dude, that is so freaking awesome. I'm here in your corner. I'm going to be cheering you on. I love watching you win. Keep winning big. Or are they more like, and I don't know if you guys have ever seen this, are they more like blue crabs? And if you haven't done this, I'm telling you, it's a fascinating, like quick Google search, even on YouTube. And you just watch these blue crabs. When someone puts one crab in the bucket, what happens is they're able to really get out of these buckets really quick. They reach their arm up and they're able to get out of these buckets, escape really fast. However, when you put two or more crabs in the bucket, here's the unique thing that changes. When one person lifts their hand up to get out or to rise, another crab in the bucket will grab them and pull them back down. Dude, it's fascinating. Go watch it. It's crazy to me. And this is life. There's so many individuals that when you're trying to rise and get to the next level, you have too many people in your front row that pull you right back down. They don't want you to dream big. They try to tell you by their own limiting beliefs, and because they've given up on their own dreams and their own life, they start to tell you, oh dude, it's not worth it. Like, I've tried it. It doesn't work. It's just for the lucky ones out there. And dude, we're just not lucky people. So dude, don't do it. And they pull you down. They're the ones that don't allow you to really say big dreams of, hey, I want to live in a bigger home, or hey, I want to make more income, or hey, I would love to retire in the next 5 years because I want to grow my wealth up to X amount. And they're like, that's just, dude, that's fantasy land. Like, no one does that. It's like the rare people of that. Like, they have to inherit it from their mom and dad. And so you really can't self-do that. That just doesn't happen. And they're a blue crab and they pull you back down into that bucket, right? This is something where I need you to really focus and ask yourself, are the people in your life, are they cheering for your success, even if it doesn't benefit them, or are they pulling you back down and holding you down? Because relationships, they either multiply you, divide you, or drain you. And I want you to choose the relationships that help you rise to the next level. E is evolving. Here's the question. Are they actively growing, learning, and becoming? Guys, this is crucial. This is the one that makes the most sense of me, and that's why I saved it for the end. Not is it just part of the acronym and it happens to be the last letter. It's also the most important one. Because if they're not actively growing, if they're not actively learning, they're not actively becoming. Now, guys, this is the same thing if you're listening to me and you're like, I'm an entrepreneur. This is the same thing for your business. If your team members aren't actively growing, actively learning, and actively becoming, you've got the wrong team. This is something that is crucial. You have to maintain a culture of learning, a culture of humility, that you don't know it all and that I'm going to be working every single day to become someone better. And if they don't adopt that culture, they are not a good fit for your business. You can't simply just have people to work just to work. You need people to work and find better ways to do the things they're doing, their roles, their responsibilities. It's crucial. And this one's most important. Jim Rohn said this: Rarely does a man's income exceed his personal development. And I want you to listen to that. I think so many times it's so easy to get caught up in the trap of actually chasing money all the time, where you're chasing the dollar. You're out there saying, hey, I'm just going to go out there, I'm going to grind, it's going to be a hustle, and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to go make money. But listen to this quote again. Rarely does a man's income exceed his personal development. Meaning, what that's suggesting, if this really is true, and by the way, it is, I'm living proof of this. This is something I believe to my core. What it's suggesting is, if you will just simply work on you and your personal development, if you will just simply become someone better in leadership, if you will become someone better in personal development, personal growth, someone that is always building a relationship of spirituality so that you're staying balanced and you're staying connected with the source that also gives us all of our power, those individuals, guys, instead of chasing money, money chases them. It's a good old adage. There's a book called The Compound Effect. This was it was my first personal development book I had ever read when I was starting to read just self-help books. So Darren Hardy's book, The Compound Effect. In there, it talks about this 40-page document. And on that 40 pages, he says, I wrote down everything that I wanted in a perfect wife. He's like, I wrote down her height, her hair color, her eye color, her hobbies, all the things that she would like. And I wrote this down so I could start to put it out there to the universe that, hey, man, this is what I want in a wife. And I'm going to write a 40-page just to show you how detailed I am. He goes to a Jim Rohn event. Jim Rohn says, hey, you can have whatever you want so long as you become the person that allows you to attract, not find, attract the person that you want. Can you imagine hearing that? And he was probably like, oh my gosh, I did this wrong. And that's exactly what he said. He says, I'm doing this backwards. I need to write a 40-page document of who a woman of this caliber is looking for in a husband. And so as he's looking for this woman, it's no longer that. It's, oh no, this woman's looking for a great husband. So what is a woman of that caliber looking in a husband? And he wrote a 40-page document of who he would need to become so that he could simply attract a woman of this caliber that he wrote in his original 40 pages. He started to go to work on him and becoming a better individual, becoming someone that would be worthy of a woman of this caliber. And within a couple years, he finds his wife, and he says it's eerie how close this wife lines up to the original 40-page document that he wrote about who he wants in a wife. You guys, why? Because Jim Rohn said it best, right? Rarely does a man's income exceed his personal development. If you chase personal development, money will attract to you. Money will chase you. Versus too many times, I see too many leaders out there, too many entrepreneurs out there, too many business owners out there, too many CEOs chase money. And that chase never ends. It's an endless race. It's crazy, right? So make sure your people are evolving, because if you care enough about your life, if you care enough about your family's life, you care enough about your business and your team members on that, in that whole entire organization, you have to protect that you only bring the best of the best, the ones that are evolving, ones that are actively growing, actively learning, and actively becoming. Now, not every relationship, I want to end with this, not every relationship is meant for your front row. And I think sometimes when we say that, we think we're casting judgment. Guys, it's not judgment, it's discernment. And I want you to think of it like a concert. Some people are meant to be in the audience. You love them, you wave, you appreciate them, but they don't get a front row seat into your energy, your vision, and your vulnerability, right? You've got people that sit in the balcony, and it's okay. It's okay. You can love all those people, right? Your front row is reserved for the reflective, the inspiring, the supportive, and the evolving. Those who challenge you, cheer for you, and call you to a higher self, a higher version of yourself. So here's your challenge for this week. Take inventory and really do the work. Take inventory. Who's in your circle? Who are your rise people? Go through these questions. As you write down your average of your 5 that you're hanging out with, like Jim Rohn said, write down those 5 people and run them through this little framework. Ask the questions. Who helps you think deeper, believe bigger, live braver? And who might you need to lovingly move from the front row to the balcony? Not out of judgment, but it's because you know your future, and your future requires you to become someone better, and you can't hang around with people that are going to hold you back and act as an anchor in your life. Remember, not everyone deserves a front row seat in your life. If they don't rise, they can't help you rise, because relationships, remember, they either multiply you, divide you, or drain you, and you get to choose which ones stay close to you. If this episode hit home for you, share it with your own rise person, the one that is lifting you up and taking you to the next version of yourself, the better version of yourself, the one who's helped you become who you are today. Tag me on social media, guys. I love hearing these stories. I've been getting quite a bit of messages on IG. Please follow me on IG. And when you do message me, it is me actually responding to those messages. It's not a trained bot. It's not AI. It's not anyone on my team. So tag me in there and let me know who's in your front row, because together we can rise. And thank you so much for showing up. If this is connected with you, please don't forget, subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. Also, I want you to leave a 5-star review if this is something that is helping you. What that allows it to do, reality, is it allows me to get this podcast to push through all the noise of podcasting, and allows it to get out to a lot more people, because I want to have a massive impact in life and let people know there is a way that you can do that by just simply listening to this podcast. I want to be a way to help them in that journey. Also, share it with someone. Share it with someone that needs to rise their people, right? Needs to ask themselves and ask these questions and start getting some of these people out of their front row and move them up to the balcony. Thank you so much for being here. See you on the next episode.